Good evening. They've been bracing themselves for days, but torrential rain, high winds and raging floodwaters began to do their worst along the eastern coastline of the US today as Florence finally hit. Well, 4 people are already known to have been killed as the huge storm now begins to move slowly inland, threatening widespread and catastrophic damage. Well, the eye of the storm first hit land this morning, bringing flash floods across North Carolina. Thousands of homes there are without power. In the next few hours, it'll cross into neighbouring South Carolina, where more torrential rain is forecast, adding to the storm's surges created by the high winds. Then, over the weekend, Florence will head inland, passing through communities like Columbia and Greenville, where hundreds of thousands of people live in its path.
The storm surge was the first indication that Florence was making landfall. Homes along the beachfront standing no chance against the rising water. And soon the flooding spread to rivers and estuaries. Residents left to compare it to previous hurricanes they've survived.
This is the highest I have ever seen it. Floyd, Irene, Isabel.
Overnight, the winds picked up, the more fragile structures standing no chance. The infrastructure of the Carolinas was tested to breaking point.
Oh my gosh, whoa.
And 500,000 homes have lost power. While this property caught fire amid the floodwater.
The heart of this storm has now arrived here in Wilmington. The wind is gusting at around 80, 90, maybe 100 miles an hour at its peak. And in an hour or two, once dawn is here, we should get the first indication of the structural damage being done. But it will be hours, maybe days, before the flooding peaks.
It will peak only later because this storm is exceptionally slow moving and has stalled as a Category 1 hurricane over the coast. First light saw river rescues underway as people were helped to safety from flooded homes and from marooned communities.
We got you. You're not going anywhere.
Here in Wilmington, a mother and her infant were killed when a tree fell on their house, making them among the first victims of the hurricane. But they may not be the last, and there were stark warnings from the governors of both Carolinas, making clear this is far from over.
Surviving this storm will be a test of endurance, teamwork, common sense, and patience.
But don't take things into your own hands and take a chance. The last thing we want to do is lose lives in South Carolina because of impatience and because of not being smart.
And yet there were signs of a few people showing almost no patience, plunging back into the surf despite those warnings. The impact of Florence will next be felt inland, as the high winds and the floods endanger small towns. This remains a life-threatening storm, creating havoc across multiple states. And with rivers and creeks still rising, no one is prepared to say the worst is over.